the ground. Airstrike. Napalm. Chain gun.
Hello and welcome to a look at Seek and Destroy for the Amiga, a game that was made by Vision and released by Mindscape. I should mention that this is an AGA game, and I will come back to that in a moment.
We're taking too many hits.
In Seek and Destroy you play an Apache helicopter, a modified one based on the weapons it's carrying, and you have to go out and introduce a non-specified enemy to your weapon systems. It is entirely an action-oriented game. I wouldn't necessarily call it a shoot 'em up, I would definitely call it an action game more so than anything, because of course in most shoot 'em ups you have one hit death and that kind of stuff, which is not the case in this game. I was showcasing the different weapons before, and I will go back to them, or come back to them in a moment. The game is a one-player game, but it has a two-player option, which is a bit unusual. If you play this game with a second player, the second player will take control of the chain gun, which can be moved independently of what the main player is doing and fired independently of what the main player is doing, which can lead to some interesting gameplay experiences, but it's not... I wouldn't go as far as to call it a gimmick, because it can be entertaining to a certain point, but considering the power of the chain gun, it is a novelty more so than anything else. Speaking of the weapons, the different weapon systems available, the chain gun, it is very weak, but it has unlimited ammunition, and you can always fall back on that in case you manage to blow through all your ammunition. The F-FARs, or floating thin arrow rockets, which of course is later known as Hydras, are unguided rockets that will fire in a straight line in front of you. They are very good general purpose weapons because they don't really care what's in front of them, whether it's a helicopter or a ground unit. They will slam into something and go bang, and it doesn't really matter to the rocket what it is. They're not super strong, but they are general purpose and quite useful as such. Then you have your air-to-air missiles, which, surprise surprise, can only target flying things, in this game helicopters, and each helicopter you will face will take between 1, 2 or several more hits from the missiles, but of course if you want to get rid of the helicopters before getting rid of other targets, then it is very nice to have the automatic lock-on from the air-to-air missiles. The air-to-ground missiles, I would assume that's Hellfires, will only target ground objects, surprise surprise, and as such are actually quite strong against ground objects, but again it is a unique weapon type that can target one thing but not the other. You also have an airstrike, of which you have one. I can't remember having got any more as pickups, but if you fly into a large concentration of enemies and you hit the airstrike, then there will be a countdown, and then that area will go boom. It will be rather flattened. Now of course you have a napalm, which is dropped right in front of you and goes in a straight line, and it is very good at getting rid of concentrated groups of enemies. The game is divided into several operations, which is subdivided into several missions, which has an objective that you need to go out and complete. The first 3 missions are more or less tutorial missions, giving you some sort of indication of the usefulness of the different weapon systems, chain gun or floating thin arrow rockets against the soldiers in the first mission. And air-to-ground missiles against the tanks in the second mission, and the air-to-air missiles against the helicopters in the third mission. If you look at the interface, top left you have your score, and top right you have the amount of lives you have available, and further to the right your fuel gauge. Bottom left is your damage meter, and the bottom right is your ammunition and weapon type. The center is a scanner which will showcase enemies. Anything dark colored is a friendly base or friendly stuff, and anything yellowish is a enemy ground structure or ground unit, and anything blinking red is an enemy helicopter. There's also a map available in case you get lost that you can look up to see where you are in relation to your base, but if you need to look at that map, you are usually in a position where you're running low on fuel and will probably crash before you get back to base. From a graphical point of view, I don't necessarily think this game, from a pure graphical side, justifies being an AGA game. Now, of course, I haven't gone into and counted the different colors being used in the game, but I have a sneaking suspicion that the main reason this was classified as an AGA game was that Vision wanted to make sure that it was powered by a bare minimum of an Amiga 1200's chip, which of course was an 6800 EC20 chip. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm talking out my butt, it's not unlikely, but the graphics are not bad. You can easily recognize different enemies, structures, units, your own helicopter and all that kind of stuff. The backgrounds could perhaps be a bit more varied, but as a game type it's perfectly acceptable. The sound side of things is a different kettle of fish. The sound effects are very, very satisfying and very, very rewarding. And of course the co-pilot that keeps saying stuff from time to time can be super epic, but it can also be slightly annoying after a while, but it is a nice addition and it adds to the adrenaline rush of an action game kind of thing. The music, both the title music and the briefing music and game over music for that matter, is of an very, very high quality. I fully enjoy all the music in this game, and the composer, of which name I dare not try to pronounce, needs to be commended for the musical and the sound side of things in this game. Top notch all around. You can play this game using joystick or mouse, and while it may sound a bit funky playing with a mouse, it's actually not a horrible experience. Depending on the sensitivity of your mouse, it may be more or less unpleasant, but of course you can always play with the joystick instead. Gameplay. It is definitely an action game. It's not a shoot 'em up, it's definitely an action game. But because of the fact that you have the different weapon systems available, and of course because they have each individual strengths and, I wouldn't say weaknesses, they just can't target the other type of enemies you are facing. The main thing of having the different weapons available, actually, I found personally to become more annoying than a benefit. Because of the pacing of the game, you don't have any tactical options of any kind. You fly and engage the enemy, and then you blast away and hope to come away unscathed, because it's very, very hard to dodge stuff. Not so much because it's hard to dodge stuff by itself, but of course you are busy keeping an eye on your damage meter, your fuel gauge, and shifting or changing weapons to the correct weapon type, and dodging suicidal helicopters which are doing their absolute best to smack into your face, which happens constantly. The Personally, I found that even though the different weapon systems are cool and they are powerful for what they can target, I constantly fall back on the Golden Fin arrow rockets because they are general purpose, and as such I don't need to fumble around with the F keys while dodging shots, dodging helicopters, keeping an eye on damage fuel and all that kind of stuff. Apparently this game was inspired by Desert Strike from Electronic Arts, but Desert Strike's fighting had a tactical level to it, because you could engage and disengage with some finesse, and this game definitely doesn't have any of that. If you are into action games, then you can't go wrong with this game. Personally, I feel it is a good game, but is it a great game? I'm not sold. Definitely worth playing and quite exciting to do so. On that note, thanks for watching, take care, see you next time, bye bye for now.